Well, welcome back to Iowa Speedway. I'm trying to not catch a copyright strike right now because there's a concert going on, but I think it goes into what makes this event so special for IndyCar and why it's so important for IndyCar. Because Hy-Vee, the sponsor of this race and tomorrow's race, and really the driving force behind bringing back this fantastic oval here at Iowa Speedway to the calendar, it's a different way of kind of looking at a race weekend. Doing concerts on both sides of a race is a very interesting concept. And while the stands weren't totally full today, the suites certainly were. And, I don't think you can look at it as anything but a success. And the one thing I would say, and kind of my hopeful optimism, is that Hy-Vee doesn't look at this as a 1 year, it's got to be perfect the first year. To me, I think that the best thing that this thing can be, this doubleheader here in Iowa, is to be an event. And events aren't built in 1 year. So I'm hoping that, the crowd will grow tomorrow when the temperature is a little bit cooler. Apparently they've sold 80% of the tickets for the race, so that's just in general fantastic for IndyCar these days. But hopefully more people actually use their seats tomorrow, because quite frankly, this was such a hectic, entertaining, fun race. You didn't, at least watching it, I mean, I didn't see the TV broadcast, so I can't tell you whether or not, TV captured all the excitement, but to me, someone watching this race in person, I couldn't help but feel like I was entertained the entire way, to the point where I couldn't tell that Joseph Newgarden led 209 laps or whatever it was, because the amount of passing, the lap traffic, the comers and goers, this was everything you want in a short oval IndyCar race. The kind of racing we saw today harkened back to those glory days of Mansell and Bozell slicing through the traffic at Milwaukee or Loudon. So I thought this was an extremely fun, entertaining, exciting race from that perspective. Now, that being said, I got to get my notes back up on my phone. I hate it when phones just close on you randomly. Isn't that great? What I guess the other thing I would mention is about Hy-Vee is that you have to pay attention to the sponsors that are here. Now, obviously, it's B2B, right? It's, when you see M&M's here, it's not necessarily Mars Corporation throwing a whole bunch of money. They're just paying Hy-Vee for better shelf space. But I would point out that M&M's is here and they're leaving NASCAR. So when you talk about the importance of these events, and I'm going to try to not get run over by a truck here. I don't know what he's doing. It's the Jacob Abel truck, so I assume it's not going to run me over. I don't think I've caused any trouble to Abel Motorsports, but you never know. So I'm just going to make sure that I don't get run over. But if I do, it'll be a really exciting video. I'll have someone else upload it. So without any further ado, because I know I'm getting off on a tangent, let's look at the results from today's race, because it was, like I said, Joseph Newgarden taking the victory over Pato O'Ward. I mean, Newgarden ran away with it. It looked like maybe he was going to lap the field at one point, but then when he turned on the jets, he meaning Newgarden, it was Pato O'Ward who was able to keep up with him. Will Power was the pole sitter. In fact, for today and tomorrow, we'll look at the starting grid for tomorrow a little bit later. Rinus VeeKay had a great charge to fourth position. Scott Dixon, who you'll hear from later in this video, was, I believe, the last car on the lead lap. Alex Palou in sixth. Romain Grosjean just behind him. Marcus Ericsson continues to lead the championship. He had a shot at winning the race, or at least passing Joseph Newgarden, couldn't quite do it. Graham Rahal came from deep in the field to get into the top 10, as well as Christian Lundgaard. Big shout out to him. That was a quiet but fantastic finish for Lundgaard. Jimmie Johnson just missed out on a top 10, but he was spectacular today. Led a bunch of laps, was one of the best drivers with tire management. And had it gone green, I think Jimmie probably would have won this thing. But the spin in finish 11th for Jimmie Johnson. We did talk to him after the race, so look forward to that. Callum Ilott had a good day. Alexander Rossi hung in there all day. David Malukas was in the wars. Kyle Kirkwood, all the Foyt cars looked really tough today. Helio Castroneves did not look and has not looked like he's been having fun this weekend. Devlin DeFrancesco, just again another driver just kind of hanging in there. Jack Harvey qualified well but didn't finish well. Connor Daly got caught out by one of the yellows, I do believe. Dalton Kellett back there 3 laps down. Takuma Sato lost his front wing off of Simon Pagenaud. Scott McLaughlin had a loose wheel that took him out of contention. Simon Pagenaud, of course, had that contact with Sato. Hey, remember that Long Beach clash? It looks like it's happened again. Colton Herta lost his clutch in the pits, and then Ed Carpenter crashed coming out of Turn 2, and Felix Rosenquist crashed going into Turn 2 to round out the field. So like I said, I think one of the major stories today was Jimmie Johnson, just how exciting that whole thing was, spinning out and then coming back through the field multiple times, managing tires, which I thought was just, the NASCAR experience had to have played a factor. The fact that he found a third lane out there, particularly when Marcus Ericsson, got up there in the high groove, got in the marbles, almost got into the wall. Really spectacular stuff from Jimmie. And it's interesting because I got this quote from Jimmie at Mid-Ohio, and I'm going to throw it to that quote in the past because he said something very interesting to me that I think you're going to want to hear, and then we'll throw it to the Jimmie of today.
To put it all in perspective, it's the most similar experience I've ever had in a IndyCar to what I used to do, even though it's so much faster, so much different. Just these cars are worlds apart, and I'm continually reminded of that. But I felt the test went well. Ironically, it was my first time at the Iowa Speedway. Cup has not been there. I didn't race any Xfinity or truck races at the track, so those were my first laps. Very impressed with the Speedway. I now see why everyone talks so highly of it, and I look forward to going back for the race.
So it was a very hot day today. The drivers, as you can imagine, were trying to get out of there, but the 2 interviews I did get, I think, count because I got Jimmie Johnson, and then I talked to Scott Dixon, and something Jimmie said allowed me to ask a question to Scott Dixon and get him talking about racing.
That was a lot of fun. The last stint wasn't as much fun as the first couple. I think I just beat up the right rear tire way too much trying to fire off and get going with those guys, and faded some, so I was a little disappointed with my result, but the fun I had today, leading laps, racing with everyone, that was a good time.
Is there much you can do to that right rear tire between now and tomorrow?
Yeah, there's a few things we can do differently. We knew we were pushing the wear on that tire with the setup and a few settings on the car, and we'll have to back off on some of that.
Jimmie said he was burning off the right rear. Were you burning off the right rear too?
It depended on which part of the race. I would say at the start I was very loose. It was kind of bizarre. Kind of fell back some spots. That's why we took the early caution. And then I think that was our strong part, especially in the last 20, 25 laps. I think they said 25 laps to go, and we passed like another 3 or 4 cars. We got the 28, the 48, the 10. So yeah, that was a good run for us. But it looked like, yeah, especially the 10 and the 48 were really burning that right rear off.
50 more laps tomorrow. How do you think that's going to change the dynamic of the race?
Depends on how the cautions fall, right? I think everybody locked themselves in and making sure that they did that long run on the last set. But it looked like kind of 50 or 60 laps on that first few sets is kind of what you wanted to do because the undercut was pretty big. So, I think you just kind of watch what others are doing, see who's making the big gains. It depends on where you are too at that point if you need to do something a bit crazy.
So like I said, this race was, the tire management was the key, but that was also the key to getting kind of the separation between the cars and some of that excitement, the traffic that we love. Open wheel racing, short oval. I mean, this felt like a Saturday. I know it wasn't quite Saturday night, but this felt like a Saturday night short track race. You go to see pavement midgets at IRP. That's what this felt like. And I would love to see tracks like Gateway and even the Indianapolis 500. I would love to see, this racing reproduced. Now, how would you do that? Well, it's not unprecedented. Why not multiple tire compounds? Throw the reds on the cars. I think that would be kind of interesting. Obviously, you'd want to do it safely, but I would have full faith in Firestone to be able to pull that off, should they ever want to. And the best thing about today is we get to do it all over again tomorrow, and longer, 50 laps longer, 300 laps. Well, to send you guys out, let's take a look at the starting grid that was set by the second lap of qualifications this morning. And it's Big Bill William Power on the pole position, starting alongside today's winner, Joseph Newgarden. You got to expect that battle is going to continue long and hard. Connor Daly on the inside of row 2. You may notice that Colton Herta is missing. We'll talk about him in just a little bit. Takuma Sato will start along the outside of row number 2 tomorrow. Scott McLaughlin will be on the inside of 3 next to Hy-Vee favorite Jack Harvey in 7th. Great qualification run for him. Pato Award, who finished second today alongside Rinus VeeKay. I think that's a really, really strong row. Felix Rosenquist, who will have to repair his car before tomorrow after a heavy crash today, alongside Romain Grosjean, who looked quite good at times today. Alex Palou will start alongside of Colton Herta, who will take on a 9-place grid penalty for changing an engine. It's 9 places, the penalty for changing an engine when you get to an oval track. Big penalty for Herta after qualifying third. Jimmie the Juggernaut Johnson alongside David Malukas. That was the Rookie of the Year battle at the Indianapolis 500. Hopefully Jimmie can figure out that right rear for tomorrow. Marcus Ericsson, I think, will be moving up. Simon Pagenaud had a lousy day today that'll be looking to improve on tomorrow. Christian Lundgaard would like to improve on that top 10. Scott Dixon, I think, is another driver who will move up tomorrow. Ed Carpenter is another driver with crash damage to repair. Kyle Kirkwood, boy, you got to be thinking for Kyle Kirkwood after what happened today alongside of Alexander Rossi, Callum Ilott, and Graham Rahal. I think I've gotten mixed up because Graham Rahal is alongside Helio Castroneves, and then we go into the final row of Devlin DeFrancesco and Dalton Kellett. So that's all for today from Iowa Speedway, but stay tuned because we've got a whole nother day of racing tomorrow, and I will be, of course, here to tell you all about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. Subscribe for more motorsport content, and I will see you in the next video.